A federal judge in Los Angeles has barred the jury from hearing evidence and the information you're about to see discussed in this full disclosure video blog. The jury is about to consider the case without the evidence within the next few days.
So when government officials have contempt for the voters, we have a big problem. And we have a big problem in Los Angeles, as you know.
According to Deputy District Attorney Steve Ibsen, the big problem is his boss, the Los Angeles District Attorney Steve Cooley.
We just assume that especially our elected district attorney will be honest, will enforce the law, will respect the will of the people. And right now, we don't have a district attorney that does that. We have a district attorney that has a federal injunction against him for violating the First Amendment of the Constitution, freedom of association, by trying to stop the Association of Deputy District Attorneys from collective bargaining and being a union.
A union? Why would prosecuting attorneys need a union? Apparently because of the unfair practices instituted by their boss.
Within the DA's office, I was shocked that there wasn't due process. Well, the soldiers, the deputy DAs were giving due process to, thieves and other criminals, and as we had to in court, we followed the Constitution. We saw injustices within our own office as to how we were being treated.
But even more alarming, the deputy district attorneys had to fight their boss just to do their job of putting the bad guys away.
The DA's office had positions that we thought were very inconsistent with public safety that shocked us. And we took many positions where we were surprised the DA was not on our side. Issues of public safety that we felt as prosecutors we needed to stand up for, to inform the public, and the district attorney was not doing it, and so that even strengthened more so our resolve to have a union that can be powerful and funded to speak out on behalf of citizens.
He mentioned there was an injunction against DA Cooley. We asked him to explain what that was all about.
Actually, federal court judge Wright, Otis Wright, has actually found that there is striking and rampant violation of the First Amendment, anti-union, union-busting type activity, and has and gave in 2010 an unprecedented injunction against Steve Cooley and the district attorney and LA County from interfering with our First Amendment rights, which is just our right to associate and exist.
Unions, especially public employee unions, are under attack right now. But Mr. Ibsen is adamant that his association serves the greater good for the benefit of the public.
I know not everyone likes unions, but I think prosecutors' unions and police unions are important. And I can tell you the kinds of things we stand for collectively, because when you've got a DA or a chief of police that is not standing up for the citizens, you need the people who are in court every day speaking out. I think it's very important that the little guy like us have a voice, and that's what our union is about, is having a voice for public safety.
We challenge Mr. Ibsen. Isn't the main purpose of his union to get more wages and benefits for their members?
There's no doubt for me personally, and for, I'd say, the vast majority of people in our union, our driving force, both for the job we selected as prosecutors and in having a union, is public safety.
By public safety, he means working to protect the public by convicting criminals and putting them in jail.
So our driving force is in economics. It's important, like every union, to bargain for economics. We had our first contract, and it included no economic increases. We were on board with other unions in LA County that agreed absolutely 2 years, we don't need raises, we'll live on what we have. Gas prices are going up, but we'll still live on what we have. So our bargaining was not about that. It was about working conditions and primarily the ability for us to do our job.
Why does he need a union to do his job? Because dissidents in the DA's office are apparently punished for publicly taking positions contrary to their boss.
Our primary, I'd say, passion has been, as a union, our ability to speak out for what we care about, which is the reason we gave up money as lawyers, we gave up the big law firms, we care about public safety. And I'd say it's a calling, and I don't think that would be an exaggeration. I can't explain why money doesn't motivate me. I like money. I'd say probably every DA in my office feels the same way. There's something that drives us beyond the economics. As long as we can feed our family and take care of them and get by and afford a house, what drives us is the satisfaction of making a difference.
Mr. Ibsen underlines the importance of their union is to protect prosecutors who do their job in spite of corrupting pressure by the district attorney.
I'm now a director. I'm not the president of the union. It's Hyatt Seligman, so I can't speak for the union. I'd say you won't find a more courageous group of people than prosecutors or police officers. However, when you have your career at stake and people feel they could be fired, demoted, transferred, even prosecutors under this administration, as shown in the federal hearings and the IRCOM result, the ability of a district attorney, if they want to punish people that take a stand against them, can quiet even prosecutors. And that's a scary thing in our society.
Mr. Ibsen sees a higher, more significant role for the public employee union than negotiating salaries and benefits.
The most important part of a union, in my opinion, is that it will make sure that government workers are secure in their jobs and are willing to come forth and expose the corruption and expose the inefficiencies and the stupidity of government and whistleblow on their managers. And anyone who's inclined to can find dozens of instances where workers are willing to do that. And my fear is, while there are legitimate concerns about labor unions, and there are legitimate issues in the past, like every organization where there have been corrupt individuals, that's different than branding the entire structure as a problem.
Losing that collective bargaining would lead to more government corruption, according to Mr. Ibsen.
And if we get rid of labor unions and the security that people like me have, who are willing to come on a show and talk about issues we have with our employer, who's in a position to fire us, with only the protection of our union to stand up for us and file a class action lawsuit against the DA, which was certified by Judge Wright, and file and fund a lawsuit against the county, which has incredible resources, seeking to protect deputy DAs for speaking out, and that's part of what our lawsuit did. If we weaken the unions, we have to recognize we are really asking for corruption at this highest level. Where there's a union, the employee gets a bad demotion, gets transferred to a bad assignment, and the union fights, and it's a long battle. Where you don't have a union, the employee is fired. It doesn't matter if there's a basis to fire him or not, on whatever made-up grounds.
And without union support, that fired employee is gone, lost in the fight against institutional corruption.
And now that employee has no income, has to seek just to survive, and the government agency knows that, and they don't have the money to fight back and bring a lawsuit, no matter how good their lawsuit is, and they go away, and the corruption's covered up. The reality is, no employee will risk his family's livelihood if he knows he'll be fired for pointing out his boss's corruption. And it doesn't matter if the bank accounts show millions of dollars funneled into his supervisor's account and that he thinks he can absolutely prove it. If he knows he'll be fired, he will not report it. He'll keep his head down. He'll do his job. You'll have very few people foolish enough to care about corruption over their own family. And that's the leverage that the very few corrupt public officials have over employees. The good news is it is not a majority. It's very few in every sector, but the ones who are corrupt the entire system.
He emphasized the critical role that public employee unions must play, holding government officials accountable.
But people need to know how vitally important unions and public sector unions are in fighting public corruption, because the prosecutors in my union who have been whistleblowers, and I can name them for you, and have taken on the district attorney and won their lawsuits or have lawsuits ongoing, are emboldened by the fact that they are not going to be fired. They're just going to be put in a bad job for 5 years, and they're willing to pay that price. I don't think they'd pay that price of knowing that their kids don't have food. And that's what's at stake.
The resistance to unions is a natural reaction by government officials.
The county would prefer not having a union so they don't have to bargain over money, but that's not all it's about. It's about the ability to control the employees and have them not whistleblow, in my opinion. I mean, that's the greater danger isn't whether the union negotiates another, $5 an hour for the employee. The greater danger is employees who are willing to be candid with the public, expose areas of government that aren't working, speak out as to high-level government officials that are padding their employment by secret bonuses, and all the things that we see.
Mr. Ibsen sees this role of unions as a moral imperative.
And that's the worst thing that can happen in government, is when government attorneys or government employees stop caring about their job and accept that it's just the way it is. And if we're not teaching kids right, we're not going to say anything because I need my job.
We want to know what you, the viewers, think. Please respond to our survey and leave your comments below. Number 1. Do you think exposing public corruption is the most important role of a public employee union? Yes or no? Number 2. Is it more important for public employee unions to negotiate higher wages and benefits for their members? Yes or no? And number 3, do you think that a deputy district attorney deserves whistleblower protection? Yes or no? Please be sure to leave your comments below. I'm Leslie Dutton. Thank you.